Hi, my name's Brianna Potts, and today I will be talking about the state teacher retirement system and financial literacy for teachers. So, just an introduction, what is STRS, or State Teacher Retirement System? So throughout this presentation, I will probably refer to the State Teacher Retirement System as STRS because it is a lot easier to say. The State Teachers Retirement System is the retirement system that all teachers in Ohio pay into soon after their career starts. So typically they start paying into it about 3 months after they sign their first contract, or they start their first contract day as an educator. So they have 495,000, there should be an extra zero there, active, inactive, and retired educators in their system, and they have 80.9 billion in investment assets. So who qualifies for STRS? Any educator, principal, guidance counselor, anyone who works in education qualifies for STRS. The system requires educators not to pay into Social Security for retirement, and similar to public employees' retirement system, this STRS system can change very drastically with no warning. So it is important to understand financial literacy as an educator to navigate the benefits and challenges of STRS and systems like it. With STRS and systems like it, like PRS for public employees, there is a constant. The retirement planning must occur early, whether it's with Social Security, an IRA, a 401k, or with systems like STRS. So having that financial literacy aspect to start retirement planning early is vital for educators and also vital for anyone else who's starting a career. So benefits of early retirement planning. To start off, I'll start with a quote. According to Investopedia writer Steve Richmond, the #1 excuse for 20-year-olds not saving for retirement is that it's so far in the future that it is not a concern yet. So he said this in 2020 on Investopedia. He talked about how that retirement seems like it's so far in the future that 20-year-olds do not start saving until their 30s and 40s. And so he was talking about saving in small, manageable chunks now rather than large chunks later. So this is true for new teachers and other employees who are signing up for retirement plans in their 20s and 30s. The benefits of retirement planning early seems endless, at least to me. Richmond explains that saving a smaller and manageable amount now is far more useful than waiting to invest and having to invest larger, less manageable amounts later. So you can invest small amounts in your 20s that are manageable for your income rather than waiting until you're 40 and having to catch up. And even though you might have a little bit more income then, you'll still have to contribute very large chunks of your paycheck to catch up for the years that you didn't plan for your retirement in your 20s and 30s. So an example is if someone starts investing $100 a month with a 1% return 20 years sooner than their friend who invests $1,000 a month with the same return, the first friend would have $1.17 million, where the second friend would only have $230,000 at the same time. So budgeting the $100 starting early, 20 years earlier, so that's the difference between starting when you're 22 and when you're 42, helped the first friend who had over triple the amount of money by retirement age than their second friend who started retirement planning 20 years later. And paying $1,000 a month is, unless you have a large income, is not very manageable, where the $100 a month is very manageable. So there are many things to consider when investing, not only in STRS, but all retirement accounts. So we'll talk a little bit about considerations for investing before we start talking about the benefits and drawbacks to STRS. So first, it's vital to weigh market risk and whether time is an asset in your situation. So most new teachers or new professionals have time on their side. So investing in an account with higher market risk is not really an issue, and it will most likely give them higher returns. So another consideration is retirement age of the individual. Most newly minted educators have a fairly set timeline of 30 or more years in their career before they need to access their retirement accounts. So knowing their retirement age can help to know the risk that can be taken when investing in a retirement account. So for people who are, if you changed careers and didn't start investing for retirement formally until you were 40 or 45 or 50, maybe you don't want to invest in large market risk because you're going to need to pull that money out sooner than if you start when you're 20. So it's also great to know whether the employer will match contributions. So some employers will match your contribution up to a certain percent. That is the same for STRS, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So Forrest Baumover is an author with NerdWallet, which publishes resources on NASDAQ's website. Baumover explains the differences between taxing now and taxing later, which is another consideration for investing in retirement. This idea is an important consideration when choosing a retirement plan. Baumover writes, if you expect to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, you might be better off contributing to a traditional IRA and taking a tax deduction now. If you expect to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, consider putting your money in an after-tax Roth account. So you'll be taking tax-free deductions or distributions later. The strategy doesn't necessarily help STRS members, but it is a relevant consideration for retirement. So there are benefits to STRS when you're comparing STRS to traditional 401ks or other independent retirement accounts. So one key benefit of STRS is the matching that occurs from all public school boards. So STRS contributions are taken out of educators' pay every 2 weeks, so every paycheck, and that contribution is matched by the school board at every public school in Ohio. So STRS provides 3 choices for its members. So we'll talk about these options, and this is a benefit to STRS having only 3 options. It keeps it fairly simple. The first option is a defined contribution plan. The second option is defined benefit plan, and the last option is a combined plan. So the defined benefit plan is, in simple terms, basically a savings account. So this choice is irrevocable and cannot be changed. So if you choose to have this defined benefit plan when you start teaching, you cannot change that until you retire. The plan does ensure that upon meeting eligibility requirements, retirees have access to service for retirement, disability, and survivor benefits. The annual contribution of this plan is 14% with a 14% match from the employer. The defined contribution plan is basically a more investment-based account. So rather than a savings account, you're putting all of your money into various investments. So the main difference between the defined benefit plan and the defined contribution plan are the health benefits and disability benefits upon retiring, and the option to choose investments rather than letting the contribution sit in a low interest account until retirement. So with this option, you can choose investments, and there's a whole bunch of different options on the STRS page, and that is really important to know. So I would recommend getting with your district HR, or talking to an independent financial planner and going through the STRS choices and figuring out which ones are best for you based on your situation. The last choice to new members is the combined plan. So this plan is basically exactly what it says, a combined plan between the defined benefit plan and the defined contribution plan. So with this plan, STRS members can choose to have part of their contribution and part of their matched contribution put into a savings-like account and choose to have full health and disability after retirement. So it's kind of taking both of the first 2 plans and putting them into a bundle with all of the best options. And then the other half of your plan will be in those investment accounts. So you'll have part of your plan in that savings account with those full disability benefits and part of your contribution in an investment account. All of the plans provide one-on-one counseling service to all STRS members during their career, information resources, free meetings and seminars for professional development, and newsletters monthly, which is really awesome. Some researchers and educators do denounce these plans, but some say public plans like STRS are more effective than government plans like Social Security, for example. So Ariel O'Shea, a writer for NerdWallet, discusses how teachers can ace their retirement plans. So she writes, in a defined contribution plan, which is that second plan that has the investments, the money you contribute generally grows tax deferred and will be taxed as income when you take distributions in retirement. So both of these plans may offer a Roth option, which allows you to put away after-tax dollars and take retirement distributions tax-free. So knowing whether you have a Roth option in your retirement plan, which can vary by district, is really important. Another benefit of STRS is that it's the only option that educators have unless they choose to open an independent retirement plan on top of their state pension. So although there are those three options included in STRS, those options are fairly simple and can be explained by professionals on the STRS website or by your district HR or by your own personal financial planner. So this can help those who feel overwhelmed by retirement, and it also forces educators to start saving for retirement early. And lastly, UC Berkeley's Center for Labor studied the difference between traditional teacher pensions and 401ks in 6 states. So although Ohio is not necessarily one of these states, this study was an interesting comparison on the benefits of some teacher retirement systems like the one that exists in Ohio. The study showcased the difference between a teacher pension and a 401k of the same contribution, time, and cost. Nari Ray and Leon Joyner, the masterminds behind the study from UC Berkeley, stated, "This study evaluates pensions against a hypothetical 401k plan, taking into account the teaching workforce as a whole and comparing benefits across plan types on an apples-to-apples basis." And I'm just going to check on my time that I have left here, so I have about 4 minutes. So one significant finding of the study found that traditional teacher pensions are far more beneficial than and matched to a teacher service than a 401k would be. So the teacher pensions are a great option for teachers because they actually match the teacher service. The researchers found that the traditional teacher pensions help curb turnover rates in teachers, and the study also showed that for 8 out of 10 teachers in the 6-state study, this option provided greater retirement security than a 401k would have for the same time and contribution rate. So this study explained the benefits of STRS and showed that for these 6 states, a 401k pension was not the best option for teachers. The critics to STRS, though, are the National Council of Teacher Equality. So this study basically found the exact opposite of what the last study said. This study believes that all pension systems for teachers in the United States are severely underfunded, too expensive to maintain, and on the verge of a downfall across the country. So these researchers argue that rather than benefiting educators and school systems by retaining teachers to keep their pensions, educators are actually at a disadvantage because of this. Daughtry and her colleagues, the masterminds behind this study, argue that it actually takes too long for educators to invest in their retirement accounts. So we're going to skip over a little bit of that study. That basically just denounces everything that the first study said. It says that contribution rates are results of poorly funded pension systems and that these are not sustainable. So I have about 2 minutes left before my screencast shuts down. So we're going to go into financial literacy importance. So what does all of this mean for educators? It basically just means be familiar with your retirement plan and know your options and know your situation. So you just heard 2 very different ideas of state teacher retirement systems. So knowing your retirement goals and knowing your options in your situation are vitally important, and knowing which of these stances you want to take on teacher pension. So what's next for educators? Talk to your district or personal financial planner if you have concerns. Know your options and know what you are investing in. Know the benefits and challenges to your retirement system. So I just touched on 2 very different perspectives. So in conclusion, financial literacy is an important aspect in choosing a retirement plan for everyone, including teachers, because of the two very different ideas on these retirement systems. It's important to know financial literacy aspects so that you can take an informed opinion on these. So educators, please take time to learn more about your retirement program so you may make the most of your plan and understand how to best prepare for your retirement. Thank you so much.